Hey, it's Trev. My last video featured a walk that I recorded on a GoPro, but that was literally my first test at trying to do that. I have over 100 different walks that I've done in the past 8 years that were not recorded on video. They're just pictures and text. So today I'm going to do a video that is combing through one of those. Consider it combing through my back catalog. Hey, what's up? Today I'm going back to my first Metroscapes walk in Hamilton, which I called Beach Hydro. And as the name suggests, it was centered around a hydro corridor that went along a beach. If the words hydro corridor sound weird to you, you're probably not a hoser like me, eh? Almost 2/3 of Canada's electricity comes from hydroelectric power, or power generated by water. Think dams with huge reservoirs behind them. So a lot of local and provincial utility companies started using the word hydro in their name, and eventually it just became Canadian slang for electrical power in general. So when I say hydro corridor, I mean the major electrical transmission corridors, the strips of land with those big, huge towers on them and the high voltage power lines hanging from them. With that context out of the way, let's set this walk up. There's a large transformer station that sits in Hamilton's West Industrial area, near Strathern and Nikola Tesla Boulevard. It's literally called Beach Transformer Station. A few different hydro corridors radiate out of here. One goes south along Strathern, one heads east along Brampton Street towards Niagara region. One does this weird arc thing over a couple QEW interchanges to another transformer station near Barton and Lake. Another heads deeper into the industrial districts. And the last one was the focus of this walk, as it goes along the beach spit to Burlington. I started at a bus stop along the strip, so I got a sneak peek of the corridor heading northwards. There was also no way I could not hang around the beach. It was a beautiful day. The waterfront looked awesome. Then I got a brief look at the corridor that does the weird arc thing over the QEW, as it flies over this wetland pond as well, and it's bisected by this gravel path. So I walked along there and the black flies were so bad. So I quickly snapped this shot and ran the hell out of there. After that, you get to this huge pedestrian bridge. If you've ever driven along the QEW from or to Niagara, you've seen it. It's this long, dark red structure over the highway. It's about 180 meters long. It also crosses the bottom reach of Red Hill Creek, so it makes a really cool lookout point. The west side of it drops you off to a bit of parkland that's wedged between the creek and the wastewater treatment plant off of Woodward Avenue. After that, it will lead you to the east end of Brampton Avenue. That lines up with that Niagara-bound hydro corridor I mentioned earlier. So you follow that, and eventually it leads you to that huge transformer station, Beach Transformer Station. From here, I ducked under Nikola Tesla Boulevard, and you can see there's two separate corridors flanking each side of the highway. One is the weird arc, and the other is the one I was following that heads to the beach. So I went up Steel City Court because it looked like there was a sidewalk there with a direct connection to Woodward. Now, here's a funny thing. I got stopped about part way up Steel City Court by a private security guard who asked me what I was doing there. And I was like, I'm walking here? She was nice, but she explained to me that part of Steel City Court was sold by the city to a private company about a year earlier. And so it wasn't actually a public right-of-way that I was walking in, and I was technically trespassing. I had to look this up when I got home, because that seemed so wrong. But sure enough, I found the bylaw that was passed in March 2019, selling the road to the American Iron and Metal Company, also known as AIM Recycling, for $750,000. Now, I found the original City Council report from December 2017 that proposed this sale, and it also recommended that the city retained a right to a 6-meter strip to allow a multi-use trail to be built through there. I don't know whatever happened to that, but it certainly wasn't in place when I got there. Anyway, like I said, the security guard, she was really nice, and she let me carry on to Woodward instead of having to backtrack. So after doing that and navigating under the QEW, I came full circle to the bus stop that I started at. From here, it was a straight shot to Burlington, with no more road crossings. This is where a hydro corridor becomes an awesome space. This is the Hamilton Beach, at the very west end of Lake Ontario, before it goes into Hamilton Harbor. This is also the waterfront trail, so it's nice, it's wide, and it's very well used. There's a good amount of vegetation here, nothing that'll grow too tall and cause the power lines to arc. And there's also these little seating areas off the trail on these small little decks. They're like cozy rest stations. It's a really nice touch. After a while, you'll get to the Burlington Canal, where boats can get between Hamilton Harbor and the rest of the lake. You'll notice two things here. The first is obvious. There's a huge lift bridge. This thing goes up over 30 meters high to let everything from little boats with tall masts on them to massive freighters get through. I got to see it in action that day. It does this every day between March and September, usually about 14 times on average, and it's been doing this since 1962. It's quite the machine. The second thing you may notice is the hydro towers. They are way taller here than the others. And while I don't have an exact number, my guess is it's about 90 meters tall. After you cross the canal, you have also crossed the border between Hamilton and Burlington. The hydro corridor continues up the beach, and eventually the shoreline bends east to go towards Toronto. I ended my walk here at Burlington's waterfront, but not before looking down the way, where I came from. Now, before I wrap this up, while I was doing research for this video, I came across some local news articles that were talking about potentially burying these hydro lines. I guess it's something that a lot of local politicians want to do, as well as some local residents who just don't like looking at them. The estimates that I've seen online peg it at around $12 million or $15 million. That was cited in a 2015 report, and frankly, I imagine that would be a little low, especially given it's been a few years. Recent cost escalations of different construction supplies and labor, and just the inevitable increase in cost that comes with doing detailed design and coming up with all these different other design requirements that weren't originally considered. So it could go well north of that. Is it really worth tens of millions of dollars to get rid of these things? Not really. Not when it's of very little public benefit other than aesthetics. Hydro towers, I know, they don't exactly blend into the landscape. And I'm not trying to hide my bias here. Metroscapes is all about these clashes between natural and built stuff. But these towers have been here for decades, and I frankly think it's a little disrespectful of Ontario's history. This is part of the system that brought hydroelectric power from Niagara Falls to Hamilton and into Burlington and the rest of the Greater Toronto area. Isn't that something that we should be celebrating? Anyway, that's just my opinion on it. Make sure you leave a comment down below. I want to hear your take on it. But for now, that's it for today's video. Be sure to hit that subscribe button so you can stay tuned for the next video that I make, combing through my back catalog, and for future walks that I record. Thanks for joining me as I explore where natural and built environments collide. And remember, friends, not all those who wander are lost. Take care.